Vincentian spirituality, that is what drives the members of the St. Vincent de Paul family. It's at the core of everything we do. Reaching out to the poor is an opportunity for us to fulfill the gospel call to seek and find the forgotten. In today's show, we'll visit with some St. Vincent de Paul members who have that Vincentian spirituality right here in the most important place, in their heart. They spread God's love through their ministry by reaching out to the poor, and as they do, they see the face of Christ. We hope you enjoyed today's show because we've got it packed with great stories of St. Vincent de Paul's mission coming to life for those in need.
St. Vincent de Paul spent the first 20 years of his life seeking fame and wealth, trying to escape his humble roots. On one occasion, while he was still in the seminary, he refused to see his father, who had come to visit him, because he felt embarrassed by the shabbiness of his father's appearance.
Beacons of Light is a great show, and what makes it so great is our focus on our spiritual lives. At St. Vincent de Paul, we do so much for so many, but we are doing it because we want to grow in our faith. Joining me today is Father Michael Acaldo, and you're back by popular demand. You were on the show a few years ago, and everybody wants to know, when's Father Michael Acaldo coming back? Two Michaels. We're going to make a mess, huh?
Two Michaels, two Italian Michaels with great hair.
There you go.
And actually pretty decent guys, too, I think.
Well, I know you're an awesome dude, and let's talk about that. I went to a recent mission at St. Aloysius Parish. It was dynamite. The church was packed, and there you were, right there for about an hour and a half for 3 nights in a row. Didn't miss a lick, but you're talking about spiritual life. Why is it important that we constantly renew ourselves and repurpose our spiritual lives?
Yeah, you know, one of the challenges for us in our busyness is to find time for God. And everybody tells me all the time, Father, I want to pray more. I want to know God. I want to be in a closer relationship with the Lord. But I just can't get it right. And if you think about our days, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go down to bed, we're on our phones, we're distracted, we're constantly online, and things are coming at us all the time. And so throughout our day, we have to find a way to connect with the source, to connect with that living water, to connect with our God. And so I invite people to use that idea of repurpose, to take what God has given you, our very lives, our gift of life that God has given us, and to repurpose it for something new. And so often that newness is that new life for Him. And if you think about what we do in the home design world right now, we take old things, and everybody wants to take something old and make it new and find new purpose for it in their homes. And I think that's the invitation, to take something new, to take your life and make it brand new, to repurpose it for our God, for our community, even for our family. And if we think about that, if we can take what God has placed within us and get in line with the Lord and spend time with the Lord, and then we go out into the world and share that with those who are in need, share that with our own family and our big church, then what can we do together?
Well, one of the things I loved about the mission is you shared about your dad.
Yeah.
Repurposing, collecting.
Everything.
And we talked about you talked a little bit about American pickers.
Yeah.
You and your brother and him were like Baton Rouge pickers.
Yeah,
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Dad loves to collect. We talk so pleasantly about Dad's little jewels. And little jewels are simply other people's trash that Dad thinks has value. But when you think about the guys on American Pickers or the guys in the Storage Wars shows, what are they doing? They're looking for stuff that other people don't see value in and finding a way to repurpose it. And you know, think about that. How many people spend their days not seeing any value in themselves? And yet, what does God call us? To see that we are each gift, each and every one of us. And in particular, those who are most in need in our community. Pope Francis again and again calling us to serve the least, those people that often we in our walk don't see value in. And so how do we take those little jewels, which is each and every one of us, every person we see on the road, every stranger, that woman in the grocery line that we want to, she's writing a check for 2 items. You know that lady, right?
Yeah.
Who writes checks anymore?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that's you, but we love you. We try to love you, right? But
Right.
it's hard. So
Yeah.
how do we repurpose ourselves for God? How do we take the little jewel that is each and every one of us
Right.
and find that gift within and share it into the world? And that's the beauty of what we're called to do.
And as we repurpose our lives, we grow in that faith. We take that next step, and we do it with Christ oriented in the center of our lives. And why is that so important? Whether it's in the grocery store or, in traffic. That was an example you used in mission. Oh, my faith is,
Yes.
God help us through this. But why is that so critical to
Yeah.
Christ right in the center?
Can we repurpose our lives for Him?
Yes.
Can we repurpose our lives for God? And it's hard. I tell people all the time, don't ever be on the phone with me when I'm driving. You might hear something you don't want to hear because I have terrible road rage. I have so little patience for people that don't know how to drive. I love you, but I really struggle to love you in the car behind the wheel. But if we can repurpose our lives and orient our lives towards Him, then everything we say, everything we do, every movement of our life should be directed towards God. And people should know when they see us, when they encounter us, that our lives are based around a love of God and neighbor. And if we remember, what are the 2 commandments? God and neighbor. We complicate that so often. It's not hard. Focus on what is the true call, to be people who love God with all our heart, all our mind, all our soul, but people who love our neighbor as well.
And that's our focus. And when we put people first, we put Christ first, because seeing that face of Christ in each and every person, that is really what centers us, and it's so critical. The mission really focused on that orientation, and really one of the challenges you put forth to us, we'll talk in our next show, but you said 12 minutes of prayer, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But in every opportunity in life to put our faith into action, not only by speaking to God, but listening to Him and hearing that wisdom that you just shared with us?
Sure. If we can be Christ to others, if people who can encounter us see Christ within us, then isn't that what we're called to? I'll never forget, one of my spiritual directors in seminary said, Michael, if people only see Michael when they encounter you in ministry, then you're not centered on Christ. They have to see Christ within us at each and every part of our day, and we know how hard that is. We know how hard it is sometimes to be focused even in difficult moments. But that's the call to conversion. That's the call to repurpose. And I truly believe that's the call of discipleship that God's asking us for.
A great spiritual segment, and we've got a great show for you. Watch the rest of the segments and see how each and every one of our guests have Christ at the center of their lives. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul's first cookbook, Taste and See, is the gift which helps share the goodness of the Lord with those most in need. Featuring recipes from Chef John Foles, each chapter begins with a short story about one of our special work programs. To order your copy of Taste and See, please call the Society or visit our website. Help multiply blessings for the neediest in our community. St. Vincent de Paul is full of people who give their time, their talent, and everything they have to this ministry. Mike Nola is president of the St. Thomas More Conference. Mike, let's talk about the founder of St. Thomas More Conference and how Don Broussard is a mentor to both of us.
Absolutely. Don was one of the main people that I got involved at St. Thomas More after I retired, and him and Henry Guidry, who's a well-known, who's passed away. But Don, and I had been knowing Don a long time through working fundraising at St. Thomas More and other efforts. And when I got involved and found out he was involved, then it was wonderful, and we became a team. And as you know, in St. Vincent de Paul, we make all of our calls to our neighbors and teams, and Don and our team members, and we work the calls together. So I've just learned so much from Don. He's very compassionate, very giving, and a wonderful Vincentian to be a mentor to me and to a lot of other people too. So.
I've learned so much from Don. All my 28 years at St. Vincent de Paul, I've been blessed to have his wisdom shared with me, and I've grown spiritually. And one of the things we're asking everyone to do is to pray for Don right now, right, Mike?
Absolutely. Don is at MD Anderson in Houston right now as we speak, fighting a cancer battle, and he's doing well. I talk to his wife, Sue, quite often, and Don would love to have all of our prayers and support during this tough time, and he's going to be there for a while fighting this battle. But his spirits are great. Don is just spiritually a wonderful guy, as we all know, and a very caring guy, and has given so much to not only St. Vincent de Paul, and we're right behind the room named after him, and he's also given a lot to our community. And so we're asking for prayers and support for his family during this time right now.
And, you know, you talk about humility. And to be a good St. Vincent de Paul member, it's all about being humble. Don Broussard is the definition of humility, and we're standing in the Donald J. Broussard building. The only way we could do that was I had to call Sue Broussard and say, Sue, we want to name the building after Don because he has been so instrumental in this ministry from day one. The Bishop Bott Shelter would not exist if it wasn't for Don and Sue Broussard and all the other people that put in their time and talent. But if Don heard me saying that, he'd quickly say, no, it's God. It's God. He'd pass it on to God.
Absolutely.
But you know, we all have the opportunity to be instruments of God. And I think Don has truly given us an example to follow. Don't you agree, Mike?
Absolutely. In making our calls to our neighbors, one of the things we start every session we end it with a prayer. And Don usually leads us in a prayer. And one of his favorite prayers is, when two or more are gathered in your name, you're in our midst. And Don has taught me a lot about helping people. And one of the things I've always learned, when in doubt, you help them. And Don's just been a wonderful mentor and a wonderful person for our community.
And one thing that I can tell you over the last 28 years of working with Don is he constantly teaches, and his wisdom, he shares it. And he's not just somebody that provides financial support. He's where the rubber meets the road. He'll go to Bobby D'Angelo and get the turkeys to deliver them on Thanksgiving.
We're already
Christmas,
talking about that.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, he's just so involved. You know, when the bishop gives the Christmas toys away, Don Broussard's here. I mean, it's just amazing. But again, if you talk to him, he's the most humble man you'll ever meet. It's something that our St. Vincent de Paul Society truly cherishes. Don Broussard, the example that he's given all of us to kind of live a life of Christ, to make that gospel come to life. And it's something that we want to share with all of our St. Vincent de Paul family. Get involved, follow the examples of people like Don Broussard, and I can say people like Mike Nola and others that give of their time, their talent, and their treasure to make our community a better place.
Hi, I'm Madison Acaldo from St. Vincent de Paul News. Prior to Thanksgiving 2017, the Catholic News Agency reported, while many will gather for Thanksgiving this year around tables filled with food and family, the National Council of the U.S. Society of St. Vincent de Paul have set out to make sure that the poor and homeless will also experience a holiday filled with community. Society members work with the people in poverty and the homeless 365 days a year. Our parish-based conferences operate food pantries, dining facilities, and shelters year-round to help people in need with food and shelter, said Dave Behringer, the National CEO of the U.S. Society of St. Vincent de Paul. The Society's many councils and conferences across the country will be hosting or partaking in local efforts to serve the poor and homeless this Thanksgiving. For example, the Society's Baton Rouge Council in Louisiana annually hosts a Thanksgiving meal for the community's poor and homeless. They usually feed more than 600 people at the local St. Vincent de Paul location. And this year, they're also teaming up with the city's holiday helpers to feed an additional 1,000 people. We'll have our Thanksgiving meal at St. Vincent de Paul dining room, but we will also be responsible for working with the Constable Brown and taking over the Thanksgiving meal at the River Center, said Michael Acaldo of the Baton Rouge Council. In Arizona, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul's Phoenix Council also helps with the community's annual turkey drive, in what locals call Turkey Tuesday. Every Tuesday before Thanksgiving, locals bring turkeys to designated grocery stores to donate them to those in need. Last year, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul in the United States received more than 26,000 donated turkeys, and they hope to break this number this year. Additionally, a St. Vincent de Paul conference in Pennsylvania will be delivering 100 Thanksgiving dinners to families in need around the area, which will include turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, and of course, gravy. People need an extra hand all year round. It is important to be there. But it's common knowledge that poor people suffer around the holidays. Picture being alone this time of year. If we can help, we want to, said John Nard, the president of the local conference. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul is an international Catholic organization whose mission is to end poverty through systematic change. They offer tangible assistance to those in need through their councils and conferences found across the country, and are dependent on the support of the individuals involved with each conference. Although feeding the hungry during the holidays is necessary, one of the main goals of the St. Vincent de Paul Society is to address the needs of the poor every day of the year. That's this week's St. Vincent de Paul news.
In 1605, Vincent was returning from a trip by boat and was captured by pirates. He was sold into slavery, and he remained a slave for 2 years. During this time, he prayed to God, telling him that if his life would be spared and he was freed, he would devote the rest of his life to the service of the poor.
For over 20 years, the St. Vincent de Paul Community Pharmacy has served our area. We provide prescription medicines for those who have nowhere to turn for this most basic healthcare need. Please, if you need your medicine or you know a family member that needs their medicine, contact us. Kay, how can they get in touch?
383-7450.
Give us a call today and spread the word so that we can ensure no one goes without their prescription medication. Throughout the years on Beacons of Light, we focus on what's going on here in our local community, right here in the Diocese of Baton Rouge. But we have never really focused on St. Vincent de Paul. Vincent de Paul, the priest who was born in 1581, he was born as a poor peasant, was raised as a very poor child, and he understood poverty because he was poor. And one of the ways that he saw out of that poverty was to become a part of the religious, because the priest had a place to call home. The priest went to bed not hungry, but always seemed to have something to eat. And that's what inspired Vincent de Paul to become a priest. Now, that's not often how we think about St. Vincent de Paul. We think about him, always being giving and caring and always looking out for others. But in reality, his priestly ministry didn't start off for all the good reasons. It was through spiritual growth that he was able to go from what we think of today, from where he began his ministry. And like so many of us who have conversion experiences, some of us say we kind of have conversion experiences every day, because through those conversion experiences, we grow spiritually. For St. Vincent de Paul, after being a priest for almost a decade or two, he had a conversion experience that he was kidnapped by pirates and was forced into slavery. So he went from being a priest, active in ministry, to literally a slave. And that converted his whole mind and all the things that he was doing as a priest. He had to think about them. Think about what he was accomplishing as a priest. And once he was freed, he took that opportunity to look at how he could serve the poor, how he could serve others and respond to that need. And it was with that great conversion experience that he has inspired millions throughout history. Millions of people to take up the Vincentian charism of serving those in need. It was through his own recognition that we all have a lot of spiritual growth to do, and took those words to heart that we now have what is referred to as the Vincentian family. It started in Paris, France. And in the 1600s, when he started reaching out to the poor, he had the support of the nobility, of the Queen and King of France. Everyone got behind Vincent because he shared with them his vision of helping the poor. As Christ said, "For I was hungry, you gave me food." And that's what St. Vincent de Paul did. And that's why our Vincentian family here today in our local community can do so much for so many. It was because of a priest by the name of Vincent de Paul, a priest that lived nearly 400 years ago, a priest who, by his example, by word and example, really embody the spirit of caring and loving the poor. For over 20 years, the St. Vincent de Paul Community Pharmacy has served our area. We provide prescription medicines for those who have nowhere to turn for this most basic healthcare need. Please, if you need your medicine or you know a family member that needs their medicine, contact us. Kay, how can they get in touch?
383-7450.
Give us a call today and spread the word so that we can ensure no one goes without their prescription medication. St. Vincent de Paul serves the entire Diocese of Baton Rouge. I'm so blessed to be here with Miss Benny Jenkins
Thank you.
of St. Catherine in Donaldsonville.
Donaldsonville, that's correct.
And you've been involved for 5 years with the society, and you're the president of the
Yes,
conference. Why is serving the poor so very important?
Because we don't realize how many poor people there are. Because we get in a certain position and sort of forget about the people that's under us. And it keeps me from not being complacent, for one thing.
And I think we're all challenged in our ministry to really get after serving the poor. And when they call, they may be looking for a variety of things. What are some of the needs you fulfill there in Donaldsonville?
Well, we feed about between 100 and 150 people a month, twice a month. We visit homes. We pray with them. Sometimes they'll call and ask us to help pay a bill. We'll do that. We don't pay the bill, but we pay something on the bill. So we'll do that. And sometimes we just go and pray.
How has that prayer with those we're so blessed to serve, how does that affect your spiritual life?
Well, it has brought me closer because it makes me realize what I have and that I could be that person tomorrow. Because we never know, sometimes, well, like me, I'm living from paycheck to paycheck, so it could be me tomorrow that's in need. So it does me good to help other people.
As a Catholic, we're called, "For I was hungry, you gave me food." That was Christ's message to us as Vincentians. Yes. When you hear that and you know you're feeding and you're making the home visits, how does that help you grow from a Vincentian spirituality perspective?
Well, as I said before, it makes me more aware of what's going on, because sometimes we, live in our own little space and sort of forget about other people, how they're living. But they're down today, it could be us tomorrow.
Yeah. And we're all children of God.
That's right.
And in a really true sense, we all have a role to play in His kingdom. And as a St. Vincent de Paul member, that's really what we do. We put faith into action, right?
That's correct. Yes, we really do.
And you have great members there in Donaldsonville. Talk a little bit about them and why it's important when we're on the spiritual journey as Vincentians, why is it important to do this work together?
Well, it helps them to see what's going on also. We have, in our little ministry, we have 25 members, and we're all very active, especially when it's time to do the feeding. We don't do the cooking. We give out food.
Yes.
Canned goods and
Pantry
meat.
items.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they help with all of that.
Have you been uplifted when you see the faith of those you serve?
Oh, yes, very much so. Because we start serving the food part 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock.
Okay.
We have some people coming, lining up at 7:30 in the morning.
Wow.
To make sure they get, whatever we're giving out.
Right. So there's a true need.
Oh, yeah.
And you're filling that need, and you're doing so really focused on what the work of St. Vincent de Paul
That's
is,
correct.
right?
Yes, that's correct.
And has your society grown to a point where everyone at St. Catherine of Siena Parish, they understand the importance of St. Vincent de Paul's work?
Yes, they do, because we do announcements at church. We'll put something in the bulletin weekly, letting them know when they can join our ministry, or what they can do to help, or help with contributions, or giving of, canned goods, or something of that sort.
And that's what's all about,
Yes.
giving and caring for the poor. So we encourage you to join our Vincentian mission. Get involved by going to our website, svdpbr.org. You can get involved just like Miss Benny has and all the great Vincentians in Donaldsonville. How do you fulfill God's call to seek and find the forgotten? For I was hungry, and you gave me food. Today's show was a great example of people that are living that gospel, making it come to life because of their Vincentian spirituality. It's all about seeing an opportunity to serve God. When we serve those in need, we are following Christ's message of serving Him. If we do a really good job, we see the face of Christ in those we're blessed to serve, and they see the face of Christ in us. Join the St. Vincent de Paul Society. Get involved in our mission by going to svdpbr.org and become a part of our Vincentian efforts to make our community a better place for those in need.